Welcome, guys. Welcome to our second segment of cooking. This one's a little bit more fun. I've talked to my sister about having little fun puns about cooking. So she said, maybe what if you do something like how to make foreign food safe for white people? So we're trying to make something simple that you can easily approach cooking if you're not comfortable cooking with Asian food or not knowing what ingredients are. So this one will be like fairly quicker than our last segment. And then most of the stuff I just picked up at any regular Asian market. You can go to right now 99 Ranch, probably has a lot, like 90% of this stuff, or you can go to H Mart or Seafood City. That's a Filipino grocery store. But what we have today, we're making is fish. What we have that's available at the market was this turbo. So turbo is kind of like flat fish, similar to like halibut, fluke. They look like aliens if you look at their eyes, because their eyes are only on one side instead of both sides. But they're pretty tasty fish. Kind of firm, a little sweet, very delicate. And then our vegetables is just simple. These are shiitake mushrooms. So these are really got that like really rich umami flavor. Pretty strong mushroom flavor. We got these Chinese long beans. In Filipino, we call this, or in Tagalog, we call them sitaw. Really delicious, good for you. We got some shishito peppers. Just nice add to the vegetables, a little bit of heat. We got some scallions, cilantro, serrano peppers, ginger, garlic, and then one of the stuff we're gonna make is like our own chili oil. So we got all these types of spices and chilies. First thing is like Korean red pepper when you make kimchi, or if you don't have it, you can use like dried chili powder or cayenne. And then this one is star anise powder. If you don't have the powder and you only have the seed and the fruit, or the star fruit, then that's fine. This is a little bit more easier for me instead of having to blend everything up. Ground annatto. This is like similar to, I would say, like paprika, or in Mexican cuisine they call it achiote, mainly for just coloring purpose. This will give it a nice hue of red. And then we have safflower for flavor and a little bit of coloring. And then we have a little bit of Japanese chili called shishimi togarashi. This is a mix of Japanese chili peppers. They have some pieces of sea kelp that's dried up. And I think like sesame seeds. There's a bunch of stuff. You can put this on, usually they put this on sushi or poke nowadays. So we're gonna make our chili oil instead of buying it. Just makes it a little bit better. We have also, to make the sauce, I call the sauce Bang Bang sauce. I just kind of came up with it because the way I made it, I just kind of threw some stuff together. My inspiration was when you go to like Chinese restaurant, they have this thing called like house special anything, house special fish fillet, house special squid. So my idea was towards that. So I just kind of picked around what I had at work to make it work. But this is similar to what I came up with fish sauce. This is the Three Crab brand, one of the nice ones, most expensive ones. There's probably better ones out there that I don't know about, but that works for me. And we just got regular 100% pure sesame oil, sweet soy, or some places they call this kikap manis. So it's really cool, like to add this in the end to like stir fries or anything like that. This is like liquid gold, I call it. It's called Maggi. It's basically liquid MSG. Makes everything taste better, but only add a little bit because a little bit of that goes a long way. Regular soy sauce, whatever you like. I like Aloha Hawaiian soy sauce. And we got fried garlic and then fried shallot. So all these you can buy readily available at a Asian market store. And if you want, you can make your own fried garlic. I can kind of show you a little bit. It's a little bit of a tricky process because you would have to watch your temperature of oil. You could burn it, and then if you burn the garlic, therefore you burn the oil. So it gets a little bit tricky. And if you want, we can just do something real quick besides besides doing that, maybe we'll do another segment of like secret sauces and secret recipes and all this stuff. But before we get that started, we need to cook rice. So I don't have a rice cooker at home here. I know, kind of typical, but we just cook rice in a pot. Fairly easy. So this is about a 16-ounce deli cup. It's not all the way full, so this is probably 10 to 12 ounces. But I don't use a liquid measuring cup when I cook rice. When I was taught when I was a little kid to use your middle finger. I'm not trying to flip anyone off, but there's like the lines and stuff like that. I'll show you how it works. It works on some rice, but then you got to know what kind of rice you're cooking. So for instance, I don't have like your traditional long grain or jasmine rice. So this is more like Japanese or Korean rice or short grain. So they're going to be a little bit more starchy, a little bit more sticky. So this one you'll have to put a little bit more water. So we'll go to the sink. When I was taught to cook rice, is you got to wash it 3 times. Remove all the excess starch. So just fill it up, and you see all this white stuff right here. That's all the extra starch that's going to be in the rice. So you kind of want to take that out. So I don't even know why, but my mom just told me to do it when I was a kid, so I never questioned her. Until now, I still don't ask her, hey, why do you take out all this starchy water? And I guess in my sense now as a cook, it makes sense. So you kind of, a little bit fluffier rice. You don't have all this extra sugar and starch in there. So we just rinse it for about 3 times. Get as much of it out. You're not going to get it like clear white, but you can see the color. It's just, now it's more murky and not so heavily white in the beginning. All right, so we got most of the rice out. So when I get to this part, this is how you measure the rice. So you get it on a flat surface, make sure the rice is even. Use your middle finger, you stick it down, right? And you use your thumb to measure where the rice is from the top. So from the bottom of the pan to the top of the rice, that's where it's at. Now you put the top of your finger, and that's where your water should be on the top. So we just a little bit more short. And that's how you basically measure rice if you don't have a rice cooker that has the line on the bottom to measure. So a little bit more. That's right. It's a little good. It's a little off. But now we're just going to go to the stove. Perfect way to cook rice at home. Bring it to a simmer for a little bit. And as soon as it simmers, you turn it down to low for 12 minutes. And then you leave it on. You let it rest for another 10. And then that way, you'll have this fluffy rice that won't stick to the edge of the pan. So while we have that going, we'll get most of our stuff started. Probably the first thing we'll do is the chili oil. So you'll take another small sauce pot. What we have here is just regular canola oil. You can use whatever. You can use safflower oil or grapeseed oil. So this is just basically going to be the base to kind of fry your spices and your aromatics with the ginger and garlic. So we'll get that heated on the stove. You don't want it like super hot at first, but you do want it to come up to temp. So the trick is when I'm gonna show you if I mince garlic and you fry them. Garlic's full of sugar and water, so when you fry it, it looks like it's gonna boil over. So if you're not comfortable doing this, I would just suggest buying fried garlic, because you could probably have a little bit of a disaster at home if this is your first time. So, but if you want to do it, make sure you have a pot and you only fill it, about a quarter way, less than half for sure, because you'll see it bubble over, and I'll show you what's gonna happen when it does that. So we have fresh garlic here. Just same thing like last week. Give it a whack. Remove the skin. Fun fact, like when you see people at work, like in professional industry, you don't have, a lot of places don't do this, like unless you're like super crazy fine dining or those intense Michelin star places, they'll get fresh garlic. But now the industry standard is just you buy garlic that's already peeled, because this takes a lot of time. All right, move this aside. Clean up our area here. Clean as you go. Sometimes I don't do it. I just like to go to the next step right away. All right. Chop, 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 chop. Oh, we're also on Instagram Live. I know people can see us. What's up, everyone? Now the cool stuff with fried garlic, you can use this pretty much on anything. Like if you say have a plain, boring steamed rice and you want to make it more, want to give it some pizzazz or something, you can add some fried garlic on top. Makes everything taste better. And you can add it to soy sauce. Now you have like fried garlic soy sauce. So there's nothing wrong of you having, a little container of this on hand. Does magic. So you kind of want to cut this as close to similar size. You don't want big chunks. Otherwise, when you fry it, you'll have stuff that's golden brown and then some that are not. And then if you do make this, you got to make sure it's fully cooked, because unfully cooked garlic and you leave it out could be dangerous. You can have botulism, similar to Botox. So I wouldn't recommend having this thinking it's Botox. Just gotta make sure it's finely chopped. Speed up the process there. All right. We'll put some of our garlic aside, then we'll get to the ginger. Rinse this knife real quick. Ginger. This is probably a lot, so we're not going to use all this. What I like to do with ginger is I like to just trim it, kind of almost square it. And then this I don't throw out. I kind of mix, like when I make chicken stock, I like to put ginger in it. Kind of gives it a little bit more herbaceousness. Sounds like our oil's getting a little happy there for a second, so we just got to turn it down. And then I usually just peel it with a knife. Or if you want another way is you take the spoon, right? If you don't have a peeler, just take the spoon and peel it like that. It's another hack. So the ginger we'll just cut into little slivers so we can kind of brunoise them and dice them smaller later on. I'll take some of this out. And we'll julienne it. Maybe the next segment we'll do, someone was asking me, like, maybe you can teach knife skills and how to do, cutting stuff. So home cooks can do certain cuts like these, right? So that could be fun for the next ones. So. But we all got to eat. I can't just cut something and then we don't eat. There's no fun in that. Yeah. No, actually, if you see a lot of chefs, if you know a lot of them, when they cook like all these elaborate meals, at work, they don't usually want to eat what they make because there's a thing called palate fatigueness, so they already know what it's gonna taste like. So usually when I worked at my last job at Chapter One, we would always do this pairing dinners, right, with like whiskey, and it'd be like 4 or 5 courses. At the end of the night, I'm not hungry, but when I get home, or I'm hungry, but I don't want to eat what I just made. So usually my go-to meal is like a cheeseburger, like In-N-Out. I mean, can't go wrong with that. So if you have a thermometer, that could kind of help check the temperature. So I have one, but this one only reads to 300, which is kind of where you would want to be anyways. So 192, 220, 234. It looks like we're getting there. Yeah, we're at 300. So this is the kind of the scary part if you're doing this at home. I'll show you. Get your garlic. Get it on a pan or a plate. And you can come follow me, Jeremy. You can see this. So I'm just gonna take it off the heat for now because it's already hot. But once you add it, you'll see it. It's like when you deep fry stuff, it's gonna expand, and you see there's like a lot of steam coming out. That's just all the water content in garlic. So if you would have this all the way full, you could basically have a spillover, and that could be, starting a fire. So we just have the garlic here toasting. And that way too, when you make your own chili oil like this, you can have your own flavored oil. What I usually do is I make a big batch of this ginger and garlic oil, and then I take half of it and I use it as a base to do, like it's just sauteing vegetables or cooking something. So now you have a flavored oil instead of just like a plain regular oil. So we'll let this cook for a little bit. You check it every now and then, like when you fry garlic, there's a point, it's almost like when you're making caramel. When you get to like the softball stage, within less than a minute, it can turn really fast. So you gotta make sure you always keep an eye on it, otherwise it'll burn. All right. Now probably what we can do while we watch that is, prep out our long beans. So this one we'll probably have to blanch, and then we're just gonna stir fry it later on. So long beans, really good and delicious. Better than, for me, I like it over your traditional green beans or like haricot verts. Just because I grew up eating this. We would have them on stews, stuff like that. We probably cut them into small segments. Let's cut these into, so it'll be easier to plate later on. We'll save these trim for later. I'm gonna make a stew or something. All right, you can kind of see, I'll pull this out for a little bit. Where's my spoon here? You can kind of, some parts are still turning brown, or maybe I'm just looking at it differently, but it's getting there, almost. But the point is, you want it once it starts to get like light brown, you pull it out, you let it carry over. Because it's better to pull it out earlier than, it's the right color, and then you let it sit in there, and it's just going to turn darker. So, in the other pot right here, we just have water going. I'm going to season that. Good amount of salt. Take our strainer, blanch these vegetables. These are the only ones we're going to blanch. Let that sit there for a second. All right, I think this is getting better. You can kind of see. It's not a wet towel, but you can pull this out a little bit. I mean, some parts are getting brown. That means you're getting somewhere. So when you get to this point, make sure you just always keep an eye on it. All right, I think our rice was simmering already. You can tell there's some steam coming out. So we'll just bring that on low and set a timer for 12 minutes. It's pretty much the only time I use a microwave. I'm kidding. I use a lot of microwave. Sometimes when I come home from work, I'm too lazy to cook. All right, we're getting somewhere. So let's just open up all these peppers. I don't really have a measurement when I do this stuff. So I just go by taste. But star anise is very, very strong. I just put it on there just to kind of give it a little bit more, different flavor, some umpness to it, rather than a basic chili oil. I mean, you can buy chili oil, and I've had them before already pre-bought, and sometimes it tastes like, to be honest, like stale stuff for some reason. So I've had it, so I don't really want the experience of having it again, but this is like 10 times better. And also, when you do this, if you're a avid ramen fan, you'll have this leftover chili powder. You can strain it. After you strain it, if you have like a mixer at home, you whip it with some butter. So now you have like chili butter that you can add to your ramen as a topping. And it's just chili and butter. You can freeze it, and instead of spending another $2 for a chili butter bomb, you already have some at home. So we're working there. But we can probably move it into some bowl and get it ready. So this is like a 2 ounce, if you to think about it, it's a 2 ounce spoon. So let's just base it off of this one. So we'll do 2 ounces of this Korean chili powder. So it depends on how spicy you want it. You can probably do like another ounce. And it's all preference on how spicy you like it. I don't like it like ripping hot, where I'm gonna have a problem in the toilet later. None of that stuff for me. I'm a little baby girl when it comes to spicy food. Safflower, big handful, right? And annatto, this one we can probably only go like 1.5 ounces. Right, 1.5 ounces. And then our star anise powder, maybe a quarter of an ounce. Right? So that's about it. You can add more stuff. You can add, like, if you want to make your own Mexican chili, you can switch all these chilies for, guajillo, chili ancho, chipotle, and it's endless. And then now you have Mexican chili oil, right? And you can tell this is getting there. It's getting happy. See, that's golden brown. You can smell it too. You guys can smell it? Oh, yeah. Like the fried ginger, fried garlic. That aroma is just beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're going to strain it to another pot. What you would need is a strainer, right? Just have this stay here. Strain. You don't want any remnants of the oil because we're going to heat this oil up again and then do the same process as like you're toasting the spices in the oil. And you just want to toast it to kind of bring it, bring more of the spices out. We'll scoop as much of this as we can. So now we have fried garlic and ginger ready to go. Let it sit right here. Turn off the stove. Bring this one back. So we'll let this heat up for a little bit. Not too hot because, you can't fry in this. Even though you think there's no more garlic, there's still the remnant garlic flavor. And if you get this too hot, it'll get bitter. So you kind of just want to do this quickly if you're going to stir fry, but you don't want to deep fry in this. So we're just going to toast it to let the spices marry in the oil. And then we'll bring this out when we get up to temp. Should be good enough. They're still hot. And this should bubble a little bit too when you add. No, not really, but it will. It's hot enough. Oh, you can see it. It's like bubbling. That's what you want. So that's just toasting in the oil. And then what I like to add to this too is a good amount of salt. Generous amount, because this is basically all fat. That way it's a well-seasoned oil and ready to go. I add a little bit of pepper to it too, ground black pepper. Another note of different type of spice. And then you can see how quickly, we'll take a white plate, how quickly the spices bleed on the oil. So if you want this right away and just want the color, you can have it ready, but the way we let it sit is, you want the flavors. You can see, right? It's nice, almost like orange hue to it. Right? So this is a nice garnish, but what we would want to do is, we want to let this sit and get all the flavors marrying together. And the only way that you can do that is with time. You let it sit. The longer it sits, the better it's going to taste. All right. Now we got that out of the way. Important stuff. Now we're going to make our bang bang sauce. Very simple. I'll probably get another plate for these aromatics and get them out of the way. I might get a cheeseburger after this. I'm kidding. All right. There's Jollibees in there, which is Filipino fried chicken, spaghetti. All right. So what we'll do is we'll take some of these scallions. Sometimes they're not the prettiest, so you just kind of like trim off all these like, you know, sad-looking parts. Trim the top a little bit. And you want to go fairly like, there's almost like shaven rings, fairly small on them. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to pull out these beans. They're ready to go. So these beans are a little bit more heartier, so they take a little bit more time to cook. Right? Oh, it's right here. Let them chill. A bit of water. Stop the cooking process. Nice and dark green. We're good. Oh, we're good there. No worries. Just a food meal. Ain't nothing important. Now, for me, I think the scallion adds a little bit of that raw garlic, onion bite to it. Because this one's already going to have fried shallot. But this one brings that like rawness to it. So you take your scallion, maybe half of this, half bunch of the cilantro. Nothing fancy, you just cut it into small, or you call it chiffonade, basically like little strips. So this sauce is like, pretty much like a lot of Asianness going to it. Reminds you a little bit of the Thai, the Vietnamese with the cilantro and the lime. You got the sweet soy from like Chinese cooking. Fish sauce, sesame oil. So the base of the sauce is two things. It's the sweet soy and the soy. The rest of the stuff is just, seasoning. So we'll start with this sweet soy. If you look at it, it's almost like molasses, right? And if you taste it, it's almost like eel sauce. If you like in sushi, it's similar. So you could use eel sauce if you have eel sauce at home. But this is way cheaper. That bottle was like only $3. We have a timer. So that's our rice. So our rice is pretty much done. We just turn it off, let it sit in there. And then the soy, let's just say we add, so that was probably like 4 ounces. So we'll add like 3 ounces of soy sauce. All right, mix that in a little bit. And then we'll add a couple dashes of this Maggi. Maybe like 5 dashes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Might need more, but you can always add when you cook, but you can't take away. That's one thing if you're gonna cook at home. Always, if you're gonna add something with a strong flavor, always go less. Otherwise, you'll have to make it all over again. And fish sauce, you can go probably like 1 ounce. This is not as bad has this Maggi. This Maggi is like super concentrated. Oh, I forgot one other thing we're gonna add to this is to make it more spicier. We got these serrano peppers. Depends on how spicy you want them. I like them a little spicy, but not too spicy. So serranos are good, and then you can stick to jalapenos if you like. For me though, I like to seed these, but if you don't like to seed them, you don't have to. Little trick to seeding jalapenos, or use a spoon. Right, I think this just comes off. Spoon. You start from the bottom, because I'm going backwards. Bottom of the pepper all the way down. And you just take out the seeds and the stem at the same time. And this same thing to the sauce, like the scallion. It adds that raw bite to it. So we're just going to cut them into very fine dice. If you get a little bit of seeds and stems on there, that's all right. Whew. Smell this. It's got a nice kick to it. Make sure when you deal with peppers is you thoroughly wash your hands before you go to the bathroom. One mistakes most people eat any peppers. Like there's even some peppers like let's say what's the one I'm blanking out here. You use for chili rellenos, pasilla peppers, right? Some people think they're not spicy. You know, there's time in the season where they get really spicy. And one cook I used to work with was like, "Oh, it's not that spicy." He goes to the bathroom. He forgot that he was cleaning some peppers, and and I told him, "Yeah, you were cutting and chopping some peppers, some pasillas. What would you expect?" I was like, "Well, I didn't know they're going to be that spicy." Better be safe than sorry. All right, so we got the peppers already added in there. We'll take our lime, press them down a little bit so you get more juice coming out. We'll probably take 2 limes. So you probably do juice of 2 lime and then a zest of 1. So we'll zest. So this sauce is very heavy in soy, so you need something to kind of brighten it up. So this where the zest comes into play. The zest of any citrus has, about 2, 3 times more potency than the juice because they have those oils in there. Get it in there. Cut that in half. Squeeze, squeeze. Now, if you like, we're going to pan sear our fish, and if you don't like to pan sear it, you can just use this method and do it in a steamed fish. So you can just put this if you have a big steamer at home, put this in a Pyrex glass, and just let it steep in there with the sauce on it. It'll be bomb. So I don't add salt to this. If I need to add more seasoning, I will add Maggi. That's going to be our seasoning spice. So we'll test it out first, see where we're at. It needs more. Definitely needs more Maggi. So that was 5. Maybe we'll go to 10. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And probably some more fish sauce too. Oh, I forgot to add fried ginger and garlic. That's the important stuff. Add all of it. And then our chili oil should be almost ready. What we can do before it's ready, we can take some of this chili stuff in the bottom, like all this goodness. If there's oil in there, that's fine. Just add some of that. Smells good already. Then we add a little bit of sesame oil. Just a little bit. Usually, there's a common mistake, right? When they cook with sesame oil. It's the same instance as cooking with olive oil. Sesame oil has a very low smoking point. So when you cook with sesame oil, you'll see it burn right away. That means you can't cook with it in hot heat. So usually if I was to add sesame oil for me in my cooking, I add it in the end. It's more of a finisher oil rather than a cooking oil. It's one common mistake a lot of cooks do is they cook with olive oil. I mean, you could blend it with canola to get a little bit of flavor, but it's the best bet if you just add it in the end of your cooking. Clean up a little bit here. All right. Now we'll cut our mushrooms. No fancy way in cutting this. We're just gonna cut them into chunks, little slices. The stems are good on this one. Sometimes they're a little, depends on the shiitakes you get. They're a little woody and tough. So you might want to pull the stem out. And I'll show you how to cook mushrooms at home. That's going to make them a little bit more enjoyable than what you're used to. Usually when you cook mushrooms, they're soggy. They look a little sad. Technique to do good mushrooms is a really hot pan. And you got to saute them as hard as you can. And you don't overcrowd it. If you have a lot, you do them in sections. So we'll put these aside for now. All right. So we'll let this oil sit probably on the stove for now. We got more room. And the rice. Actually, let's cook more of these beans. Psych myself out. I put a lid in and then put it back on. These ones, not so much. I guess you could. I've never had them raw. They're not like the regular green beans. They're a little bit more textured, I guess. But they're not as waxy as a haricot vert or regular green bean. So I like them more a little bit that way. Now the fish. So I bought this at H Mart. They have this turbo. They usually come in steaks like this. So what I did was I just took the the middle bone out, so we have these like little single fillets. Um, I like anytime I cook fish, I like to cook them with skin on because there's all the nutrients in there and all the goodness. So this one we'll just cut into small. So if they're gonna be like firm like this, like some fish, the skin is a little tough, so you probably have to score them a little bit because otherwise, when you cook them and you don't score them, they will curl. They will curl this way, outside in, and you can't get a crispy texture. For me, when I eat fish, that's what's I like the most is you get that crispy skin.
What's another fish you should score the skin with?
Snapper, right? An occasional salmon, but usually at my place we don't score the salmon. We do like another technique, where kind of like when I did with the steak last week, where you put the meat down and you let it sit there and you let it get crispy. You kind of get it. You set the crust already, so the skin doesn't have a chance to fold up. Just making slits. Should be enough for everybody. So we have got a little bit of small pieces. We're gonna cook them in batches, so we don't overcrowd the pan. All right. Because then, if you do have a wet skin, that's more chances of your fish sticking. Or you can do the easiest way at home is cook it in a non-stick pan. That's probably the safest bet. But I don't think you'll achieve the same crispiness if you were in like a, cast iron. Maybe you could. I don't know. I've never tried it, so I can't really say no. So I got this canola oil blend. Any oil is fine. Again, make sure you get a good surface area on your skillet. So while we're searing this, we're gonna also cook our mushrooms first. So you want this pan to be super hot. And the only way you can tell is when it starts to smoke. Just a little bit more. Oh, one light went out, yeah. Same thing with this. This is starting to get hot. So when we're getting hot, then that's when we can season our fish. A little kosher salt. Now, seasoning fish is different to seasoning meat. When I season fish, I season a little bit lighter than I do with meat, especially with salt. I don't know the exact term why it can get saltier than meat, but it's just from experience. When I would salt the same way, I would have saltier fish in the end. So, a little pepper. So both of our pans are getting hot. The one for the mushrooms is getting hotter faster, so we can add our mushrooms. And mushrooms have a lot of water weight. That's why when you eat them sometimes they're soggy and they're not good because they're not cooked right. It's better when you cook them the right way and they got like a little crispiness to them, a little bit more of a bite. And this one, as soon as I cook the mushrooms too, I add a little bit of salt to help draw out that moisture. Salt and pepper. Now we got a hot skillet. Take our pieces of fish, and then I'll show you if you want to get closer, you'll see it when you put it down. Same thing with the steak, one side down, and then you'll see it start curl. Prevent that by pressing the fish down. I mean, probably can't do it if you don't have it. If you're scared to do it and you have a spoon, you can press it down with a spoon, right? Or a spatula. But I'm used to the oil splatter. So that's one way to prevent the skin curling up. So we'll start with these. I can probably finish the rest. There's more room in here. Yeah, so don't think this is not hot oil. I mean, it's still hurting me a little bit. So, yeah, if you can't take it, just press it down with a spoon. I'm not trying to ask you to do something you're not used to. But you can tell with this when you add the oil, right, and get them crispy, you'll see them starting to get golden brown. So that's what you want. That's what you want out of your mushrooms. To get all that residual water out. And same thing with this. When you're cooking with, when you want to flip your protein, right? You look on the side of your fish and you start to see it golden brown. That's when you know it's ready to flip. Because especially with fish, and then you do it too soon, right? And you flip it, and if it's not ready, you'll break the skin. So you want to make sure it's ready to flip before you get to it. And same thing with fish, like how we cooked the steak last week. We sear one side, we flipped it over, and then we just let it rest and turn it off. You kind of want the same thing. When you cook fish, you sear it one side, and you let the residual heat, when you leave it on the pan, carry over. Just forgot to warm my oven, so we'll just get it started now. You see one side is ready. If you don't have the spoon doesn't work, you can use what we call a handy dandy tool, fish spatula. This is meant for fish. It's perfect because it's this kind of beveled side on the bottom. Makes a perfect scooping action. It saves your skin. You see that? Ooh. Nice and crispy skin. Yeah, sometimes it can get tricky. We got that one out. Turn this off now. Look at that, it's sticking. Doesn't want to flip, it's being stubborn. So we'll just let that sit there and it'll carry over. So you see the mushroom is kind of like shrunk in size a little bit. Now what we're gonna do, oh here it is. Add some of our aromatics, some ginger and garlic. So we're gonna cook these a little bit more. Then we're gonna pull them aside and then start on our beans and then the peppers. So what we can do is, let's see, sneak peek on this rice. Resting. You can see, right? 12 minutes, and then you let it rest for 10. The resting part is very important. So you don't need a rice cooker anymore. It's a waste of space and waste of money. If you have it, it's all right. It's cool. Not hating. All right, we'll probably just put this on the side with our chili plate. It's all right. Let that sit there. Now we can start on our peppers. These ones, I like them when you get them like charred. I mean, we're trying not to get to that point, but almost like if you wok fried them, get them a little crispy. They're really delicious. Right. Pan with some oil. Probably switch this around. Let this rest up here. Add your peppers. So with this, you know, we're going to add some of that bang bang sauce to it to kind of coat it a little bit. All right. A little salt, pepper. No, taste your mushrooms. They taste good. Yeah, that's what you want to see with these peppers, right? You got these like little blisters. This can be like an appetizer in itself. You just add some of that chili oil with some of that chiliness and then some fried shallot, fried garlic. You squeeze some lime on it, lemon. Add some more of this stuff to it. All right, what we can do is take our beans. And we can add these now. We getting smoky over here? No? Some might fall off if you saute them, stir fry. Right. Probably need a bigger pan. It's all good. Add your mushrooms. see if I can flip this without making a mess. I don't think it's a good idea if I flip it. All right, we'll take some of this bang bang sauce. Right, so just kind of bring it all together. Turn off your heat. This is very, very easy cooking. Now that sauce that I made, you can add it to like, any stir fry you want to do at home. Add it in the end, and you're good to go. A bit of that bang bang sauce. Make sure you'll see the top will have all your goodness, like the fried garlic, ginger. Make sure you scoop some of that out. You put it on top. Then what you can do in the end is, for contrast of color, you have your chili oil. It helps the plate pop a little bit. And there you go. How to make foreign food safe for Caucasian people to eat. Enjoy, guys. Thanks for tuning in. So, till the next episode. All right, enjoy.